So our second presentation, second company is Alt Resources. To hear about how Alt Resources is consolidating the Mount Ida Gold Belt, please welcome the Chief Executive of Alt Resources, James Anderson. Hey, James.
I don't normally do these presentations. I've got a very attractive geologist, senior geologist, Helen Degling, who is far better looking than me. So I'll do my best. I only just got back from Kalgoorlie last night at midnight, so I'm a little jaded and a bit weary. We've started drilling diamond at this project. So what I'm going to do is I'll focus on, that's the usual stuff, our board of directors. You can look at all these things, you know, online, basically. Currently the company's got a 10 million market cap, share price is 6.4 cents. We own a bunch of projects in New South Wales and WA. The focus of this presentation is the Bottle Creek Gold Mine and the Mount Ida Gold Belt in Western Australia. So I'll move on. That's a map of, you know, all of our assets. New South Wales, we've got an IRG system down in the southeast Lachlan, Oregon. Quite a complex mineral system. Done a lot of work there. At the moment, it's not so much mothball, but we're holding off until the end of winter. We'll go back to the project once the winter season's finished, because it's quite difficult exploring in Jindabyne in winter. Myala is, we've just done a little drill program there and got some quite interesting results, which is on our website. But again, as I said, the focus of this presentation is really our Bottle Creek Gold Mine. Okay, what we've done over the last 6 months is taken the company from being an explorer to potentially now an emerging developer. In the process of looking for projects in Western Australia, particularly in the goldfields, northern goldfields, we focused on the Mount Ida Gold Belt. It was one of the areas that we'd ascertained was significant in its geology, but also very significantly it was very fragmented in its exploration history. It's had a number of companies working up there over the years, but no one's ever really managed to put the whole project together into one parcel of land, which we've sort of successfully done. The key for us here in Mount Ida is that you know, essentially you've got the northern end of the Zuleika Shear and the Mount Ida Shear, and you've got a significant number of gold deposits here, but that are relatively small in terms of scale and probably not mineable as independent projects. But once they're all consolidated together, as we've done, it really becomes a project that's got development scale. So this photo here is actually of the Bottle Creek pits. They mined this project in 1980. There's an aerial view of it, which will give you some indication of the scale of Bottle Creek. This was mined by a company called Norgold, and it was discovered in the early 80s by electrolytic zinc. And it was very, very good exploration, really, because it was discovered as a geochemical discovery. Electrolytic zinc progressed the project to a stage where they believed it could be mined, and then a company called Norgold came into the project, and it was mined in 87 and 88. They mined 100,000 ounces out of the project over an 18-month mining cycle. It was a very high-grade open pit project. It was mined at nearly 3.5 grams a tonne, but you have to take yourself back to sort of the 80s. And the gold price in the 80s was I think $300 or $400 an ounce. So even at that grade, you know, it would have been difficult to make money for the company. So we acquired Bottle Creek just through a prolonged search, and it was in the hands of a prospector and called Rodney Lehman. And Rodney picked up the project from North, got bought by Rio Tinto, and they basically shut the project down. It wasn't one of their core competencies. But you know, in saying that, you know, you'd ask why did they shut the project down? They had a number of problems at the place. You know, pit wall failure. Sort of Norgold took some shortcuts. Cutbacks in the pit wall design. You know, was supposed to be 55 degrees. they cut them back at 60. So they had a pit wall failure. The plant design was done badly, so they had quite a lot of problems with processing. So, there's a number of things happened. Rio just shut it down, spent 10 years rehabilitating the project. It's the only gold project in WA that's been fully rehabilitated and handed back to the government. So we picked this project up with no environmental liability, a significant amount of infrastructure. On the bottom end of that slide there, near the Bottle Creek project, that's a 2 kilometre airstrip, 2 kilometre long RFDS airstrip that was built by Rio during the rehabilitation process. They spent 9 years rehabilitating this site and spent $9 million on it. So we've picked this up on an option agreement. We've completed the main components of the option bar the final cash payment of $4.8 million. At this stage, we can't really disclose what's in the project. It's non-JORC compliant, but it's got a resource currently that isn't JORC compliant. We think around 200,000 ounces. This is a consolidation of the project area that we've done. So, by acquiring the Bottle Creek asset, it was really the cornerstone asset in Mount Ida because of the size. It's 2 mining leases. It's got a significant amount of infrastructure on it. Airstrip. It's got a bore field that Rio put in place. Probably spent $3 or $4 million on it. It's got 11k strike length, which you'll see a bit later. Once we put our foot on this project, we were then approached by Latitude Consolidated Limited, who owned a significant amount of project area around us, which included the Quinns Mining and the Timms Fine projects. These contain 100,000 ounces in JORC compliant resource. And this is what I was talking about before, about consolidating this Mount Ida belt into a project that can now be processed and sustain a processing plant, hence the emerging development stage. So we've picked that up and we settled that last week. It cost the company $2 million, $1 million in cash and the balance in shares and options. Okay, so this will give you a scale, indication of scale of Bottle Creek. On the right-hand side there, you've got 4X, Southwark, Emu, VB and Bogues. Obviously, the developer liked beer, so hence the names. At Southwark and Emu, you'll see there's a couple of small areas there that are a bunch of mining exploration holes. This is where we've been drilling for the last 3 months. The company currently has just finished about nearly 12,000 metres of RC on those two deposits, those ore zones at Southwark and Emu. Some of the announcements you may well have seen lately coming out. They've been getting quite a bit of coverage because of the grade and consistency. So you'll see there that the entire project length, the Vogues and the B pit are the southern end on the mining lease. The strike length of Bottle Creek's about 11 kilometres long, and there's ore zones across the entire length. Now, and also, keep in mind that the VB and the Bogues pit have only been mined down to 40 and 50 metres respectively. There's also a number of high-grade ore shoots below both of those pits that were never followed up in the mining cycle by Rio. So when we acquired this, we acquired extensive infrastructure. Tailings dams are in place, of which we've just sampled. The tailings dams, we got 20 grams silver and half gram gold out of the initial samples out of the tailings dams. And there's 2.5 million cubic metres of soil sitting there, fully rehabilitated, untouched. So we acquired the asset and we bought effectively the database, which incorporated a significant amount of RAB, RC and diamond drilling. Historically, if we were entertaining that today, you'd be looking at $8 to $10 million of drilling history. We've then spent 3 months digitising it because it was all paper. So we brought all that into Datashed in our database, and the basis of our drilling programs at Emu and Southwark have been based on that historical database. So we sort of really know what we're drilling. We're getting better than exceptional results from this program. I think much better than what the historical explorer did. So We've got a great project, no environmental liability, no royalty legacies, and exceptionally high-grade drill targets over 11 kilometre strike length. So this is the Emu ore zone that we've just drilled. That's the drill fences. We've drilled 22 fences, 94 holes, nearly 8,500 metres of RC. We've done this in 7 weeks. We've done 12,000 metres of RC in 7 weeks. Everything's delivered to ALS, and we're starting to announce the results now progressively as we get them in hand. So this was ready to mine. Basically, they'd stripped this ore zone, and it was ready to mine before Rio shut the project down. So we've got a stripped area, all our roads are in place, and I don't know if any of you have been in Western Australia and driven around there in tracks and dirt. We've got virtually sealed aggregate roads that have come from the mining cycle, so we can take our rigs, our trucks anywhere on this site without getting bogged, which is quite significant. Emus, we've just finished the first diamond hole at Emu. That's where I've come back from last night. We've just drilled a 300 metre hole beneath, or across one of the zones. You'll see that on the right-hand side there's an east-west structure that goes through the middle of this Emu ore zone. We've just drilled a 300 metre hole into that and got some very interesting looking core coming out, which we'll talk about next week. I can't really talk about it here, but we'll make an announcement about it next week. So we've put a diamond rig in there. Murray Pollock from DDH1 had a rig at St George Mining just up the road, so we managed to grab that. Okay, this will just give you some indication of what we've been drilling at Bottle Creek. Just some of the fences and some of these. These are on the website. These have been announced recently. I don't have my glasses on, so. But we've got, they've always called this a supergene gold deposit, which we don't actually agree with anymore. It's got a supergene component to it, but there's definitely something more significant underneath. We're absolutely certain about that now. You've got some very wide, broad intercepts and extremely high grade. These are all our drilling fences. The historical drilling was very random. It was really done by the company, really just looking for ore to dig up. They weren't really exploring per se. They were just trying to find their next bunch of ore to put in the mill. So that's just some of the stuff. And again, it's all on our website. You'll see, they're 20 metres at 4, 21 at 3. And this is out of Emu. So, but again, you can look at all these things on the website. This is a very interesting area that we've just drilled at Southwark, particularly in terms of grade. It'll give you an idea. The right-hand slide, you've got Emu and Southwark. This is a continual ore zone. The Emu, we've drilled 600 metres. At Southwark, we've drilled 300 metres of the ore zone, or about 350. But in between there, there's nearly a kilometre of drill fencing that's 100 metres apart, the line spacings. So there's a huge amount of potential, or untapped. So we're currently uploading all our database to the resource geologists, and we expect to have a JORC compliant resource on this by the end of July this year. So it'll be the first JORC compliant resource to come out of Bottle Creek. All the historical drilling, there's no QA/QC. So as we've been progressing, we've been validating the holes and twinning some of the historical holes as we've been going. So we'll bring that into the database as well. Southwark, we've completed 44 holes across 11 fences. Again, only 350 metres. Very, very significant results coming out of this. And it's open at depth, it's open to the north, and it's open to the south. But very interestingly, it's got a lateritic cap on it. It's about 5 or 6 metres thick, with some quite significant grade in it as well. And also, the geology is vastly different than what the historical lithologies indicated. And we'll say more about that later. You can see there just some of the results. 13 metres at 6. What's that one? 11. 13 metres 11. Very consistent and high grade. This is a quality project.
So we're nearly done.
Oh, I've got to get off.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Okay, we've got some great geophysics, which we can deal with later. And pathway to development is fairly clear and concise, and you'll find it on our website. Thank you for, sorry for rambling.
Thank you, James.